Sego Segwego, Kimberly Murray Youngyats Ganyega Hagani Neganasatage Wakwaho. Good morning, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Kimberly Murray, and I'm the Independent Special Interlocutor for Missing Children and Unmarked Burials. I'm Mohawk, and I'm a proud member of Ganasatake Mohawk Nation. And it's very humbling to be asked to take on this very sacred responsibility as the Independent Special Interlocutor. And before I get into my opening remarks, I just want to acknowledge the three courageous, brave women that are on this stage right now with me and say thank you, Iqaluit, Marcy, for sharing your words with us this morning. It's so important to me to hear from survivors, and I thank you for raising the issue of not having enough survivors at this gathering, and I will work with leadership to make sure that there's further gatherings for Inuit. So thank you for raising that. I hope everyone enjoyed their dinner last night and the powerful words of the speakers that we had the great privilege of hearing for. And of course, of the beautiful performances that were shared with us from the Inukshuk High School drum dancers. And I also hope that you had time to visit with each other and that you had good rest after what I know was long travels for many of you to come to this very unique gathering. I want to say now I thank you to Bernice for lighting the kulik last night, and to Elder Darrell, who I don't think I see right in the room right now, for sharing with us the importance of the spirit plate. And of course, we all want to say thank you to Shelton for his drum song and his teachings, and to Leanna for the beautiful songs that she shared. The evening really was a way to start us off in a good way as we begin these important conversations about the ongoing searches for missing children and unmarked burials. I want to say thank you to Nash for the opening prayer this morning and for bringing our minds together as one. I want to acknowledge that we're gathered in Inuit Nanagut, the place where Inuit live. Many of you will know that my mandate as the Independent Special Interlocutor is a 2-year mandate, and we're nearing the end of that 2 years. My mandate ends in June of 2024. As part of the work that I've been entrusted with, I've been hosting these national gatherings. And this will be our last gathering, aside from the one that we'll be hosting in Ottawa in June of 2024. Each of our 6 gatherings that we've held so far have been unique to the peoples and territories that it was held in. And I know that this gathering will also be unique, as we all experienced last night. I want to, of course, recognize the empty chair and the ceremonies that were conducted to invite the spirits of the little ones to join us as we discuss our sacred responsibilities to find, honor, and protect the disappeared children. I also recognize all the sacred items that are in the room with us that many of you brought with you on your travels. And I know that these sacred items that we carry and that we have among us will help us as we have the difficult conversations that we've started this morning and that we will have over the next 2 days. I want to say Iqaluit and thank you to the leadership that joined us last night at the dinner and that are here with us as we have our conversations. As I've said before, it's so vitally important that our elected leadership show their support and commitment to survivors as they do this sacred work of recovering the disappeared children. I want to specifically recognize Kupi Casimir from Tk'emlúps Shuwekmik and her council and team members who have continuously supported the work of my office. They have come to every single one of our gatherings, and they have shown the country, and the world the leadership that it takes in sharing the truth about the burials at Kamloops Indian Residential School. I think that we speak for everyone when we say thank you to Kupi Casimir and her council for everything they've done for this country, to listen and to hear about the truths of the atrocities that Canada has committed against Inuit, First Nations, and Métis people. I also want to just take a moment to recognize Andrew Carrier from the Manitoba Métis Federation. I saw him earlier. There you are, Andrew. I think it's really important we can't forget, as we heard, that Métis people were also taken to these institutions. And I know that the history of Métis experience in the residential schools is something that the Métis continue to fight to share and continue to fight for recognition and acknowledgement and compensation for the various institutions they've been to. So thank you, Minister Carrier, for being here with us today. And of course, as I said, we have to thank the survivors for their words this morning. There's so much that we have to learn from you, and that we need to continue to listen to your truths as you share at these gatherings and with the world and with the country. So again, Nakumek Melsi, thank you. I, of course, recognize the survivors and intergenerational survivors that are among us today. We appreciate you, we love you, we believe you, and we honor you for your resilience, your resistance, and your courage. I want to turn everyone's attention, and I don't mean to embarrass them, to the Office of the Special Interlocutors Youth Council. And I'm going to ask them to stand, if they will. Our council members that are here with us today are Megan Metz, Joni Carew, Benjamin Kuchar, and Carmelo Swan. And I acknowledge these incredible youth, along with the others that were not able to attend, as they've been working with our office and coming to all our gatherings. They have said that they want to help. They have said that they're here to help. And they want survivors to know that you don't carry the burden of finding the disappeared children on your own. And so I thank you to the Youth Council. I thank you for always showing up and standing up with survivors. So at the beginning of my mandate, our team discussed where we would hold our various gatherings and where each one would take place. We knew from the very beginning that we had to come to the north. After speaking with Inuit leadership, it was decided that the northern gathering would be here in Iqaluit. It was important to us to come to the Eastern Arctic, to hear the voices of those who live here, so that we can learn from and with Inuit of Nunavut and other Indigenous peoples that live here and across the north. We know that the experience of colonialism was different here, and that we have to discuss, as we heard this morning, not only the residential schools, but the northern mission schools, the day schools, and the federal hostels. We also have to discuss the many other institutions that Inuit and Northern First Nations and Métis children were taken to, including the hospitals and the TB sanatoriums down in the south. And we heard this morning from this panel, and we heard this last night from our speakers. It's not good enough that funding is only available to search the grounds of Indian residential schools recognized under the Indian Residential School Settlement Agreement, because we know children died at other institutions. The North is unique in so many ways. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada recognized this, and it dedicated an entire volume of its final report to the Inuit and Northern experience. In Volume 2 of its report, the TRC highlighted the many differences of the institutions that were in operation in the North compared to those in the South. First, it noted that the history of these colonial institutions, known as residential schools, is more recent in the North than in the rest of the country. The TRC found that the Government of Canada did not just template the system in the North from the South. Instead, it created a different system, one of day schools and hostels, and it placed the system under the direction of Northern affairs rather than Indian affairs. However, we also know that the hostel system, that many of the same problems existed in that system as the Indian residential schools. The TRC wrote that the hostels were large, regimented institutions run by missionaries whose primary concern was winning and keeping religious converts. They employed a curriculum that was culturally and geographically inappropriate and where abuse was rampant. The geography of the North also meant that children were taken tremendous distances away from their families and communities. And for many, they were separated from their parents for years on end. The limited number of hostels in the East meant that many Inuit children were taken to the hostels in the Western Arctic. The TRC also highlighted that the per capita impact of the institutions in the North was much higher than anywhere else in the country, resulting in the severe intergenerational impacts we see today across Northern communities. The TRC also found that the Northern experience was unique, but it also had several similarities to the South. Children were taken from their parents, often with little or no consultation or consent. They were subjected, as we heard, to an alien language and setting. They lived in institutions that were underfunded and understaffed, and they faced harsh discipline, disease, and abuse. And many children died, and many children are missing. And that is why we are here today, to discuss how we find the disappeared children. As I said, I have a 2-year mandate. It ends in June 2024. And in June 2024, I will be providing recommendations to the federal government on creating a new legal framework to protect the burial sites and to support the recovery of the disappeared children. This new framework must include and build on Indigenous laws and protocols. The sacred work that survivors and communities have been doing to find the children has revealed significant problems in the current colonial systems. And so today and tomorrow, we will hear about these problems, and we will learn about the different approaches that communities have taken to remove the barriers in finding the children. This national gathering will provide an opportunity for us to learn from survivors, from elders, knowledge holders, intergenerational survivors, youth, Indigenous leadership, and the technicians that are leading search and recovery efforts within their own communities. We will have important conversations about grieving, ceremony, accountability, resilience, repatriation, data sovereignty, commemoration, and the protection of lands, with particular attention to the unique needs and realities of Inuit and Northern communities and traditions. As we gather to exchange knowledge, let us commit to holding the spirits of the children and the survivors at the center of our discussions. And as we have our conversations, I know that we will, as always, be kind to one another, we will support one another, and we will always remember those that came before us and those that will come after us. So I wish you well over the next 2 days, and I say, Nakulmik, Nawe. Thank you, Marcy. Hi, hi. And Nawe.